Good morning, everybody. This is Dawn Johnson, the Warning Coordination Meteorologist, and Tim Bardsley, our Senior Service Hydrologist with the National Weather Service in Reno, here to talk to you about the upcoming unprecedented heat wave and how it's going to affect snowmelt and stream flows. If you've looked around out there and seen things greening up, trees are already blooming, flowers are popping out, and you're thinking, this seems early, well, you're absolutely correct. We are way ahead of schedule with a lot of these things. Allergies are already kicking in for several people as well, unfortunately. We are about to enter into what is an unprecedented March heat wave, being that we have never seen temperatures like this in our recorded history thus far. We have no flooding expected, but waterways are going to be flowing quite high, fast, and very cold. This amount of snowmelt in February, March timeframe is incredibly unusual. We're looking at an atypical water supply outlook and impacts to the spring and summer because we are melting things off so early in the season. Our March heat wave here, we're actually looking now at temperatures at a selected sites around the region. And what we are doing is blending models. This is the national blend of models looking at the 50th percentile, or kind of the midway range on our forecast guidance for our high and our low temperatures across the region. Note here, we are looking at temperatures for almost a week-long period that look more like June than March. If we want to put that into context, normal highs and lows for Reno are about 60 degrees for highs and 35 for lows. And you'll note that we are pushing 25 plus degrees above normal for this. Our overnight lows even are going to be into the 50s and staying above freezing even in our higher elevations, which is very unusual this early in the season. Heat risk, however, does remain low because we are seeing cool downs at night still. However, those who are sensitive to heat, you might want to just kind of take it a little easier, especially since it's early in the season and most people have not become acclimatized to these warmer temperatures. Now, let's put this into context. Our all-time record for Reno in March is 83 degrees. We've actually never been above 80 degrees outside of the last week of the month. We've never seen more than 2 days in a row of 80 plus degree weather in March. And right now our current forecast would put us at 6 in a row. And one more little fact for you, since 1893, Reno has only seen 80 degrees in March 11 total times out of 4,092 possible days. So that's less than 1%. So this is blowing all sorts of daily records out of the water as well as we go through this heat wave.
So looking at the streams and the rivers, as Don mentioned, we're going to be running fast and cold, but we are not expecting any flooding. We can't entirely rule out some isolated pockets of minor flooding, but as this graphic on the right shows, of all of our forecast points, the West Fork of the Carson at Woodford is the only one showing that only about a 1% possibility in those gray shading as you get in towards next weekend's time period. Part of the reason for the lack of a flood risk is we've already melted off a lot of snow. We've reduced our snow-covered area quite a bit, and our March sun angles are not nearly as high as we'd have in late May or June when we typically would be concerned about snowmelt flooding, and also those day lengths aren't quite as long either. Looking at the snowpack, snowpack has really taken a big hit since late February. We had that very nice storm about the 18th through the 21st. And then we followed that up with a warm rain, if you remember that, and then just some warm, windy conditions that really took the snowpack for a nosedive. Looking around the area, we're not quite as bad down in the Mono Basin, but all the northern part of the Sierra is well below normal, and it's particularly bad in northern Nevada. Some of those are near record lows as far as about a 45-year record we have for the snowtail system. Now this time series on the right-hand side, the black line shows our current year snowpack from the beginning. You can see a few big jumps. We had a few good storms there, but you can see that mid-February storm that mounts up, and then you can see we've really taken a nosedive since then. And that late February melt was really also unprecedented to take that much snow off that quickly in the last 3 or 4 days of February. And then we've continued that at a little bit slower rate into early March, and we are going to ramp that up with this coming heat wave. And we are almost certainly have seen our peak snow accumulation. We've seen about 5 weeks earlier. A little green dot on this plot on the right indicates the typical peak, which is the very end of March. So we're going to have a much longer snow-free season than we're used to. I wanted to contrast that really quickly with the precipitation for the water year. So this is rain and snow combined, and that is much closer to normal, and actually, in fact, a little above normal in some areas. As Donna has mentioned, that impacts our grass growth and fuel growth, but we've really going to offset the timing of our runoff, and that's what we're talking about here in the water supply. This is the April-July water supply numbers. This is the median forecast from our friends at the River Forecast Center. We typically talk about seasonal water supply and forecast from April-July because that's usually when most of the snow melts on a normal season, and also kind of corresponds with when our demands increase for agriculture and other uses. Well, this year we're shifting that runoff early. Here is an example of one of the plots for the Truckee at Fair as that forecast April-July numbers change through time. That black line is that median forecast, and the shading shows the range of that forecast. And you can see how that very nosedived in late February when we started melting that snow off early. It also is looking at the next outlook on the weather, and it's saying, I don't see any new snow, I don't see any precipitation, so it's just taking a dive, and we're losing that snow, and we're providing that water earlier in the season. That's a real challenge for water management and for ecosystems. I wanted to contrast that now with this graphic that's showing the water year forecasted volumes, and those are much closer to normal, at least in the Sierra. On the Humboldt, they're still very dry, but we've been observing higher than normal flows, especially recently in a lot of the systems due to this early snow melt. And with that, I'll let Dawn close it up.
So to kind of talk about the potential impacts that we have going on, our snowpack in the West is the largest natural reservoir we have. We typically peak out late March, early April, and then melt it through the late spring and early summer, which aligns with when typical water demands are hitting. This year, we're melting it out well ahead of schedule, which means there's a big gap between when we have those elevated stream flows and the subsequent water demand. This is really critical in those systems that have limited groundwater or reservoir access because the water needs are just not going to be there when it is needed. We have a prolonged snow-free season in the mountains, which could lead to a more severe fire season, but that is going to be determined exactly how the rest of the spring shapes up. For the lower elevations, we are actually seeing more of a grass crop because it has been wet, and that creates fine fuels that are also able to burn in the lower elevations as well. Our wild card, water year precipitation, has been near to above normal. So this is a warm snow drought, and it is atypical from what we have seen really in any other analog years. This photo is just a great example. It is showing a ridge above Leavitt Lake at over 10,000 feet. And you can see those south-facing aspects are already bare at even these high elevations this early in the season. And thanks to Devin Eckberg from California DWR for providing the photo. So hopefully this gives you a good update on what is to come. Obviously, you can always reach out with any questions. Have a good one.